Gears of War E-Day is the new and highly anticipated game that will be released in 2026. The game will be based on Emergence Day, also known as E-Day, where it all began for the franchise. E-Day will be the prequel to the first game, as Gears of War 1 was set 14 years after Emergence Day. So what characters could we see in this game? Let's start off with Damon Baird. Baird enlisted with the COG on E-Day, but did not meet Marcus until Gears of War 1.
You're Baird.
Yeah, that's right, asshole. Question is, who are you?
Shortly after E-Day, Baird heard Marcus over comms as seen in Gears of War Judgment.
This is Omega 2. We're pinned down 2 blocks from the museum. We need an evac.
We're mobilizing, Sergeant. We can have a Raven to you in an hour.
We don't have an hour.
We could be there a whole lot sooner.
I'm gonna rescue Omega.
So we won't see Delta Squad altogether, but I think it would be a cool idea to see Baird's perspective on E-Day for a brief time. It will be the same idea for Augustus Coltrane, who was still a thrashball star at the time of E-Day and was in the middle of signing a new contract. His parents were killed during the attack on Jannermont, and he joined the COG around 5 days later to avenge his parents' deaths and was serving with Baird as seen in Judgment. Like Baird, Coltrane did not meet Marcus and Dom until 14 years later in the first game. However, in the E-Day trailer, we are shown an action figure of him, which can be an indication of his potential appearance. Next, I'd like to talk about Tai Kaliso, which I'm very confident in saying that he will be in this game. Tai fought alongside Marcus during the Pendulum Wars and was seen with him in the comics when the war ended. He was also serving in a squad with Marcus and Dom 1 year after E-Day. One gear that appears in the comics that may make an appearance is Padrick Salton, who was a Southern Islander soldier in the COG army. He is known for being one of the greatest snipers during the Pendulum Wars with over 400 confirmed kills. He's also seen in the comics fighting alongside Marcus during the Pendulum Wars and up to when it ended. He also fought several battles in the Locust War 1 year after Emergence Day. Carlos Santiago, Dom's older brother and Marcus's best friend, who died during the Pendulum Wars when he detonated a grenade on himself when he was already severely wounded to save Marcus from advancing UIR forces. His death plays a significant role in the tone of the Gears of War series and shapes Marcus and Dom's relationship. I think we will definitely see a flashback of his death or even have a flashback mission to play during Operation Leveler in Asphalt Fields. I think it would also make sense to see Dom with his wife Maria and their children, seeing them go through the devastating loss of Carlos. I also think we could see Dom's parents as they accepted Carlos Embry's star at the COG ceremony after Operation Leveler. This would also make a good build-up of Dom's backstory during the campaign. Next is Adam Fenix, Marcus's father. I believe Adam will be heavily mentioned by Marcus and Dom throughout the game, and potentially seeing him in cutscenes such as meeting Queen Mira in her royal palace, discussing their deal of finding a cure for Lamancy, and keeping the Locust underground to save Sarah from seeing E-Day. I also think it would make sense to see his process of finishing the Hammer of Dawn, as well as working on the Mark I Lancer. Next up is Anya Stroud. Anya was seen in the capital of Ephyra on Emergence Day in the flashback scene in Gears of War 4. She was part of Hoffman's convoy of commandeered civilian vehicles that was en route to the House of Sovereigns to rendezvous with Minh Young Kim. Due to the destruction of E-Day, I can't see much communication going on during that time, but I do believe that we will see her one way or another as she became an important role as a controller with the Coalition High Command 1 year later. Victor Hoffman, who was also seen with Anya and Kim outside of the House of Sovereigns on Emergence Day in Gears of War 4. I can't see Hoffman being left out in this game as he's a commanding officer, so I think we'll see him in cutscenes and referenced by other characters. Minh Young Kim, who was also seen in the flashback in Gears of War 4 on Emergence Day. He was leading a squad in Ephyra while he was on his way to meet up with Hoffman and Anya. Kim and his squad were then fighting off Locusts, and one of his squad members acquired the Hammer of Dawn to take down a Corpser. I think we will see Kim in action and maybe even play as him for a brief time. Chairman Tomas Dalyell, who was the sitting COG chairman during E-Day and led the COG to win the Pendulum Wars. I think it makes sense to see him in cutscenes during the Pendulum Wars, possibly showing him meeting with Bardry Salaman and Adam Fenix, discussing strategies of how to use the Hammer of Dawn against the UIR to end the war. I also think it's possible to see Dalyell speaking on TV during E-Day, announcing to the public that a new enemy is attacking and asking citizens to remain calm. Next is Bardry Salaman, who was a general during the late years of the Pendulum Wars and was a friend of Adam Fenix. Like I previously mentioned, I believe it's possible to see Salaman in a meeting with Dalyell and Adam discussing the Hammer of Dawn. It is also known that Salaman kept tabs on Marcus when he first deployed, letting Adam know his whereabouts during the war. Let's talk about the Carmine Brothers. It is known that Benjamin was born 4 years before E-Day, and Anthony was born and raised during the last years of the Pendulum Wars, so I think it's safe to say that they are too young to be in this game. As for Clay and the fourth unknown brother, Clay is the eldest brother, which is always possible to see him enlist in the COG during E-Day at the age of 18. Or you can assume that all four brothers are too young and won't be seen at all. However, there is another Carmine family member that could make an appearance, that being Will Carmine. It is unknown what his relation is to the Carmine brothers, but he was present during E-Day and was killed by General RAAM. Moving on to the Locust Council, which was the inner circle of top-ranking officials of the Locust Army who were advisors to Queen Mira. I think it would be a great idea to show the council discussing the plans to invade the surface, as well as showing how RAAM approached Queen Mira about his plans and being promoted to Uzul. General RAAM and Skorge. I think seeing these two are an absolute must, as RAAM led the attacks on E-Day with Skorge by his side. I also think it would be interesting to see the altercation between RAAM and Shrock, who fought during the attack on the Genermont base, as RAAM disobeyed him at the time and took his role as general. I'm really hoping that we see RAAM throughout the game, as he's such an interesting villain. I'd like to finish off the video by mentioning a few notable characters that most likely will not be in this game, starting with Bernadette Mataki, who was recovering from a gunshot wound that happened months after Operation Leveler. She was home in Golagny when E-Day happened, and she was upset that she wasn't with the COG to help fight the Locust. She contacted the government house on Nora and spoke to an operator asking to be sent back to her unit in Jacinto. She was asked by a constable to stay in Golagny to form a militia in case the Locust ever decided to attack them. Bernie realized that this was the best for her, as it would be nearly impossible to make it back to Ephira and that her friends and family needed her on Golagny. Next is Dizzy Wallin. Dizzy was an engineer working aboard a Navy emulsion tanker during the Pendulum Wars. A few days after Emergence Day, Dizzy made his way back to his hometown of Matino Junction in Tyrus to find his family, but the town was completely on fire and fighting was still going on. He was stopped by a COG patrol and took Dizzy to a refugee center. He became stranded like many others after the Hammer of Dawn counterattack. 9 years after Emergence Day, he took advantage of Operation Lifeboat, which was a COG policy that allowed stranded to join the COG in return of transporting their families to a more secure region in Jacinto. Dizzy accepted these terms in order to keep his two daughters safe. With this time frame being so many years after E-Day, I think it's safe to say that we will not be seeing Dizzy in this game. So those are my thoughts on who we might see in Gears of War E-Day. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like my content, please like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video.